Hello and welcome to the Aeroplaneheaven Model 10 Electra. Currently we are sitting in Rotorua with the New Zealand Electra ZKAFD Union Airlines. And also we are currently doing the very important flight control check, wheel control check and basic wear check. We're just making sure that the props are indeed aligned and are on the engine and also are correctly torqued up. We're just going to duck underneath the wing now, come around to the other side, and also checking to make sure that the ailerons have correct movement, as do the flaps. In case you're wondering why you're not seeing them, I'm using a Xbox 360 controller at present, and you do not have the ability to use your joystick at the same time. Just pop around the back here, and we will be coming around to the front, to the side here, and we will be entering the cockpit through the passenger section through the rear door. As we make our way through into the passenger section, we'll talk about a few of the features and a few of the little extras that we've built in. First extra, or less if you wanted to see it that way, is we haven't modelled the toilet in the toilet room there, so you will not be able to, well, let's just say look after yourselves on a long trip. I suggest you just hold it in. We'll also pop down here and say hello to Neville. Hello, Neville. He's not very talkative today. It's very little early. We will just pop through the passenger section of the Electra. Just to make a note that we have actually set up some quick views from within here so that you can take some of those classic shots of the over the wing, etc. The other little feature, or lack of feature if you want to see it that way, is we haven't made the door open either. Currently we are in the exterior model, flying through the exterior model and then into the interior model. That's how the new game works. So that is why there isn't any glass on this side of the door. We'll fly through the window. We'll do our best to get through there. And what I'll do now is I'll just set myself up just as a pilot in the pilot's view. We of course have the correct pilot's view, and I will switch to that in a moment to start the engines, should I say. Have a quick look and a quick pan around just to have a look and see inside the Electra main office, as it were. We'll just pop around here. Yes, you can see through, down through here, to see where we have just come through. And we'll come around to this side, and I'll reset my position. Now that we're in the pilot view, this is the default view and the default zoom level, by the way. We shall just have a quick look at some of the extra switches that can be found in the Electra, and then we will run the left engine up. I'll speed through the right side, and then we'll go for a fly. So number one thing for some of the people who are wondering about the avionics and also the quick start and cold dark start, we'll have a look at those first. On the left hand side you'll see that we've added, or should I say the switch was always there, but we've now added the functionality for a cold dark start. The plane is currently in the cold dark start environment, and so to actually switch it to the ready to fly moment, we also have not added, it's been there for a while, a quick start. The quick start switch can be found underneath the radio stack. I will switch it on now, and as you can see, everything comes into a ready to start engine setting. What this means is you can either use the Control E method, or in fact use the correct method using the primer and the starter above on the overhead panel. If it is in the cold dark section, which we will use now, you can still use Control E from this point if you so wish. You'll see all the levers will move in the correct places, etc. There's nothing stopping you doing that, but we've also made it a quick start so that you can come in and still use a few of the switches, but not all of the switches. I'm going to leave it in cold dark start because we obviously want to start this correctly. The other thing that we should have a chat about is the modern avionics set and the Sperry AP set. Now currently, for that to actually work, we need to turn the battery on, and before I turn the battery on, there's always many things to do before you do something. I'm just going to toggle off the pilot's yoke. The pilot's yoke toggle and the co-pilot's yoke toggle can be found underneath the radio stack next to the quick start switch. So we'll just quickly turn off the pilot's yoke. The co-pilot's yoke can be toggled away. I'm not going to bother. As you can see, it really isn't in the way if you are flying from the pilot side. If you choose to fly from the co-pilot side, then of course you may very well want to toggle that away. So what we shall do is we shall turn on the battery. The battery can be found here on this ledge, down straight in front of the pilot, and we'll turn that on. When I switch 3X touch modern AV radios, we shall do that now. This is entirely optional. By default, the Electra will start with the Sperry AP. The Sperry AP, of course, looks like that. Okay, let's start the engine. In between the two ledges in front of the pilot and the co-pilot, you'll find the engine pedestal. I don't know if it's called the engine pedestal, but that's what I call it. Basically, it handles everything for all the engines. We shall be starting the left side, so we'll start with the left side of the pedestal. Starting from the bottom, we're going to make sure that our fuel valve is open. Just a quick note, the parking brake is on. You can find it just in between and underneath the carburetor heat switches, which are currently set to cold. We shall be turning on the left fuel selector to main. That's important. There is an aux and then there's a crossfeed. Do not use the crossfeed, both engines in crossfeed. You will run out of fuel very quickly. We'll push the propeller all the way over to high RPM, and we'll just make sure that that has indeed put the propeller into high RPM, and yes, it has. With that done, we'll just open up the throttle a smidge. We will let you use your judgment over a smidge. We'll move the mixture all the way to the front, and for all intents and purposes, that is everything that is required down here on this part of the Electra to start an engine. We'll move our attention up to the overhead panel. We do indeed have a quick view section, or should I say an instrument section, that will take you directly to the overhead panel. I shall click that now. With it centered in the view, we can now properly cast our attention to the relevant areas that we need. Now, confession time, I always forget these, the magnetos, whenever I try to start a plane. I don't know why, so we shall be setting them first. I'm going to make sure that the left magneto is set to both. One more, come on, there we go. And we're going to push in, should I say, the master ignition. With that said, we're going to turn on the alternator, and we're going to turn on the left fuel switch pump. Putting the primer onto the left side. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just put it back again. Just a quick note, on the real Electra, you're supposed to take your two fingers, index and middle finger, and use them to put both the primer and the starter switch into the position left or right, and then hold them there. Of course, this is a functionality that you simply can't do in game, so what we've done is allowed you to switch it to the left side, and once the engine has started, it will spring back. So we'll start with the primer, and then we'll start the left engine. I shall move back to the pilot's section. I have moved back to the pilot's position after wrangling with the camera controls again, just to make sure that the engine is in fact on. We shall now move our attention to the right engine and actually start that as well. I will leave it at this point and run it very quickly so that you don't have to go through the same area as well. And that is that. If you want to, you can put your wind out through the window. We have not made the window open, but you can just use the drone to slide outside and probably chop your head off. With that in mind, we're ready for a quick taxi out. Okay, with both engines running, we'll now take off. What I will do is make sure that I have received clearance to leave. I actually haven't done that, but we'll live by the seat of our pants. I have already turned off the parking brake On my joystick, I'm using my brake key. I'm going to increase the power of the engines up to about halfway on the throttle. So I've reached about halfway, and let go of the brakes, and we shall start to move forward. Slowly but surely increasing the power. She's fairly docile, but she does need a little bit of power to get off the ground. I'm now at full power. That's my joystick. Yeah. Oh well, you know what they say. Anything you can fly or you can walk away from is fine. Now, up in the air, I'm going to do what we do with the Spitfire, which is to apply the brakes to stop the wheels from turning. I don't think you need to do that in the Electra, but it is a good idea to do. With the brakes on, I'm just going to hit the G key to raise the gear. Make sure the gear has in fact raised. Pop inside. Yep. And we shall make our way up to some more altitude. I will leave at this point. I'd like to thank you for watching the video and how to start and a small little walk around of the Electra. I'll leave with an Electra flying in the air with a walker, a drone fly around, should I say, and then we shall see you again. Thank you again.